Hey everyone, it's 10 Types and Battle Partners, the Japanese expansion, which is going to be making a journey together internationally. Recently, it came out in Japan, and I've already covered the Trainers Pokemon decks, which are really cool, and I talked about some other cards as well. But today we're going to be taking a look at some Rogue decks, and the deck lists are in the description. If you want to import them into Pokemon TCG Live, you'll be able to do that once the set comes out internationally. These cards are not out. You can't like play this Magmortar in live. It's not a card yet, but you'll be able to do that once it comes out, and the card will swap over. Also, consider liking the video because that helps out the channel a lot. And I'm interested in hearing down below in the comments also what some of your favorite decks are from this set. This set is probably one of my favorites in quite a while, because there's a lot of depth to the set. I was really excited about. I mean, I love Pokemon cards, but this is one that has a lot of depth. This is my third video talking about really interesting decks, and today these rogue decks these aren't the best decks. Do you want to get that out of the way? Some of these I think are pretty decent, and there's some really interesting ideas as well here. The first one we have is a Budew list, as in like a deck where you're attacking with Budew as really your only attacker. You do have Blood and Mercy EX as well to finish things off. If you've never played a Budew focused deck, because they're not like, I don't think they're that common. Budew item locks for free and does 10. That's not that much damage. You need to add in damage from somewhere else, and then you kind of end the game off with Blood Mercy EX, because Budew's 30 HP, which obviously really low, means that you're going to be struggling to just deal with attackers. So you're probably going to end up falling behind Blood Mercy EX. The idea is that you're down, probably at the end of the game. You need to take two prizes. Your opponent just needs to take one, something like that. That's not uncommon at all. And then you can just go in with Blood Moon or Saluna EX to finish things off, to make a bit of a comeback there. And of course, you do need extra damage somewhere else, which is now from the Volcanion EX and the Magmortar, which are the new cards, which are really fun. I'm really excited for these. Volcanion EX says once during your turn, if it's to the active, you may leave your opponent's active burned. In some ways, this actually functions pretty similarly to Iron Valiant EX, but it does actually, inflict burn, which does guarantee 20, but it is the burn special condition, and the new Magmortar can also increase the burn damage by putting 3 more damage counters on your opponent's burn Pokemon during Pokemon checkup, and this does stack. So we see 4 Magmortars, so you can add an extra 120 damage, so that would be, or I guess 140, including the base burn from Volcanion EX itself. So then, with all that going into it, you're going to be able to do theoretically 150 burn damage. Burn if you don't actually know, because special conditions aren't really that common, and um, people just like don't know about them that well. Especially like directions of turning, but that doesn't matter for this. Burn is a special condition that you can actually have as along with poison and one of the turning special conditions, but it says that your opponent takes normally 2 damage counters between turns, but then on a coin flip, if they flip heads, they're not burned anymore, but they will get damaged first from burn, guarantee taking that 20 damage, in this case, hopefully more than 20 damage. Um, this is not how it always worked. It's changed. I know it changed a little while ago. I think with Sword and Shield. It might have changed before then. Special conditions are like really weird in the Pokemon TCG and have gone through a bunch of changes. But regardless, that is how burn works. It's guaranteed damage. In some ways, it's better than poison, but it can go away and has generally had less support. This is the first burn support we've seen in a while. And obviously, the idea is you kind of slow down your opponent and get some extra damage with the burn, and then if they stay burned, they might not be able to switch out or retreat because they're item locked. Um, then you finish the game with Blood and Mercy Luna EX. We see a bunch of switches as well. The idea is, I guess you probably have your Budew in the active, or maybe you send up the Volcanion EX, then you can free retreat with the Budew into the Volcanion EX, but you can just switch it out. It does have a 3 retreat cost. I'm a little surprised there isn't a Latias EX in this list. I feel like that would make sense. We also see Surfer. This is a really fun supporter. I don't know if I've played with it. You switch, and then you can always switch, and you have to switch. And then if you do switch, you draw until you have 5 cards in hand. So it's a switch supporter and a draw supporter, but as I said, only a draw supporter if it's a switch one. It's a really cool card that it's not like amazing, but it's okay, and it's yeah, as I said, it's cool. And we also see Gravity Mountain, which is another interesting card. And Handheld Man. There's a lot of weird stuff in this list. Not like the craziest list, certainly not the craziest we'll look at. Volcanion EX is a card that you can actually put into a lot of decks because, like Iron Valiant EX, it's kind of like free damage, except Iron Valiant EX, you need to switch into the active, versus Volcanion EX you can send up, say after your Pokemon was knocked out. It's maybe been played in the Lily's Clefairy EX deck, and I don't think it's even always played in that or usually played in that. I'm not sure. Certainly is sometimes though, and it's a card that is just some extra damage in a way that's not like super resource intensive if you do have switching outs. And it's definitely a card that I think this card could be a meta relevant card. Um, I don't think the Magmortar will be, unfortunately. It's a fun rogue deck, though. This is a deck that seems, I guess, really cool to try out. Badoo's a little annoying, but I have enjoyed playing Badoo Dusknoir some as well, though it's not the strongest deck. I mean, things you can win, but things can go very badly too. Next up, we have two Mamoswine EX lists, and there are a bunch here. Looking at Limitless TCG, which is the website I'm using, there's a good chunk. I'm just going to be taking a look at two here today, but you can do lots of different things. Mamoswine EX is probably one of the fan favorites from this set. It's definitely built like that. Its ability says once during a turn, you can search your deck for a Pokemon and put it into your hand, and then shuffle your deck. This is an ability that I've heard a lot of talk about. A lot of people really like abilities like this. It is on stage 2 though, which means it's like objectively worse than Pidgeot EX essentially. I mean theoretically you could get a bunch of Mamoswine EX into play, but that's really hard. And then you got this attack here, Reverberating March. Keep in mind this is the translation of the attack, so the attack name could change. But Reverberating March for 2 fighting, you do 180, and it does 40 more for each of your benched stage 2 Pokemon. So with a full, let me check. Yes, this does not play Area Zero Under Depths, but you don't need that either. But with a full bench or with a bench of 4 stage 2 Pokemon, you're going to be doing 340. So that is certainly going to be enough if you just have 3, you're doing 300, which is, also probably enough. That's a lot of stage 2s there, right? This is going to help you get set up a little bit. This card actually reminds me a lot of the Nidoqueen from Team Up, which I have fond memories of from theme deck format, but certainly that was not really a standard meta card. And getting the energy on is also kind of awkward. So we see a bunch of different stage 2s. We see Pidgeot EX, which I mentioned before, as being a card that's, I mean, it's really good. I didn't say it was good. I said Mamoswine EX is worse than it. Mamoswine EX's ability is mediocre. It certainly helps out the card. The ability is fine. The attacks, like, it's quite good. It also hits fighting weakness, I will say. Pheasant Dip EX is like arguably the best Pokemon in the game right now. The weakness doesn't actually matter that much because you're probably one-shotting him anyways, but Pidgeot EX here is like a no-brainer because it allows you to have better consistency. It is a stage 2 and it's a very good card. Then we have Blaziken EX here, a 2/1/1 line. We see all the not all the evolution lines, I guess. All the stage 2s that also have basics, because a few of them don't, have stage 1s for Grand Tree, which you see in the list. Then we also see 3 rare candies. I mean, in order to get like 5 or 6 stage 2s into play throughout the course of the game, then you're going to, I mean, you can't rare candy them all up, obviously. We see a team evolution as well. And then, of course, it might just be manually evolving, and that's, definitely okay at some points. Especially we see Drake here, which is kind of crazy. The energy count is 6 fighting, then we see 2 fire and a psychic. Blaziken EX we'll talk about in just a moment, but Dragapult EX is a card that's obviously a really good attacker. Drakeloak's a solid engine, though obviously it's not a stage 2. Also, with something like this, you want stage 2s you can play immediately. Mamoswine EX is actually kind of similar to Torterra EX, I think. No, maybe the regular Torterra, which I think is in standard. Yeah, 50 for each evolution Pokemon in play. This is a card that wasn't really played that much, but you would want to get these evolution Pokemon that could be put into play immediately, which are the Lux. Well, we'll talk about those, Luxray and the Klinklang. The other list, plays those. Whoa, okay. I just like briefly looked at this list. Okay, this is interesting. And then we also have the Blaziken EX line, which we need to talk about. And the Blaziken EX itself, the line doesn't matter, but you have your ability Boiling Fighting Spirit. I guess this is like a really important part of the deck with this ability to accelerate a base Genji from your discard pile to one of your Pokemon. Your attacks, I think, are all 2 energies, which is, that's more than 1, and you don't have other. Well, you do have Crispin, 1 copy of that, which you can search out with Pidgeot EX, and certainly like not impossible to draw into. And then you have Blaziken EX to get the other energy, like energies on other times when you don't have that 1 Crispin with without Palpad. So you have Blaziken EX. You can manually attach if you're manually evolving, then you have plenty of time. But then you can also do 200 for Fire Colorless. That's why there's more fire here than Psychic. Blaziken EX is a pretty competent attacker, not amazing, but it's okay. Um, and then you also do have Clink Clank and Luxray. Clink Clank, I guess, can attack. It's a card that's like a counter to Chimpao, I guess is why it was printed, but Chimpao's not that good, so no one plays it for that reason. But you can play it instantly from your hand down onto your bench if your opponent has a stage 2 in play, which they might. A lot of people do play stage 2s. I mean, some people do. So it's really good there. And if they're not playing a stage 2, then it's not going to hit the board. Then you also have, and it can attack, but it's not that good. Then you have Luxray here, which cannot attack in this list. It's a pretty good attacker. It's a pretty good card in general, but you can play it immediately from your hand out onto your bench if you're losing, if you're down in prizes. So Luxray is a card that's, I'd say more universal. Clink Clank's good against some decks. Good against, Charizard, Dragapult, those types of decks, and they're never going to be able to play around it. So it's really good in those situations. Luxray is good in really a card you can play in any matchup, but you can't play it all the time. And at the end of the game, when you're trying to close out the game, trying to win, you might not be able to use it either. So, or just various points throughout the game as well. So you won't always be able to play one of those. Not you almost will never be able to. You'll be able to play both. Sometimes you'll play one, and probably a bunch of the time you won't be able to play either of them. But they are still like important cards to have in the deck. There is also a Napoleon in standard right now. Oh, these are all post rotation. I think I didn't say that in the previous video I made as well. If you didn't realize, this is all post rotation, so no like the Apollyon, which I mentioned, no Forest Seal Stone, no Rotom, none of that. And then we actually see Big Air Balloons, a really fun card. This is a weird card. That's it gives free retreat to stage 2s, which is like, this is a card I've not seen that much. I've seen it occasionally, and I've covered it a few times. It's not the best card, but it's a funny card. And it's cool, I guess. I mean, obviously, Mamoswine EX has a really high retreat cost with 3, or no, with 4. The Klingon has 3, and you're probably not attacking with it. You don't really want to. It discards the energy. So that would be bad to get stuck in the active. Blaziken EX, you don't really want in the active either. You could attack with it. So Big Air Balloon is actually like a really nice fit within this deck, which is really funny. We also see Jeremy Tower, which I guess that's the biggest sign. I feel like this is a post-rotation list. Lost Vacuum is it's a substantial loss to rotation. I don't think it's like going to completely upend the game or anything like that, but it is a card that is going to, it is a loss, and Jeremy Tower is really the next best option, and is substantially worse. I mean, it's not an item, and it's different. I mean, it doesn't even get rid of the tools. The tool is still there. So if your opponent bumps the stadium, then the tool's back online, but still, the deck has a lot of different, there's a lot of different things going on. We have the other Mamoswine EX list here. This one plays Garganacl. Garganacl is one of my favorite Pokemon. I guess it's just like a cool Pokemon to me. But it also has this card that is, it's not the best. Garganacl doesn't have the best cards, but this one's kind of interesting. Once during a turn, you may attach a basic fighting energy from your discard to one of your Pokemon. If you attach an energy to a Pokemon this way, you heal 30 from that Pokemon. So you do get the healing, which you didn't have with it. Blaziken EX, they're actually like really similar. Also has 4 retreat. Yeah, so we got that. I actually wonder about Heavy Baton in this deck as well, because I feel like that could be good, but regardless, we don't see that. We see some different things. No Dragapult, only one type of energy, so no Crispin. We actually see 2 Garganacl. There's only one Blaziken EX in the other list, and now we got that. We don't have the Grand Tree. We don't have, we just are, there was a bunch of differences. Certainly similar ideas as well with Luxray and the Klinklang, which you really need. Then we see Shiftry. This is not at all what I was expecting. I guess it's here for its second attack at 140 for 2 colors. Put an energy from this Pokemon into your hand. I'm not entirely sure why this is here, to be honest. I know it hits weakness. It hits grass weakness. But I feel like it like doesn't do enough damage, right? You want to one-shot Charizard DX, but you don't, right? You just do 280, which does not one-shot them. So I'm not entirely sure why that's here. I mean, I guess it's a single prizer, which is like kind of good. And then Yeah, I'm not entirely sure. It seems kind of weird to me, but it is here. And then also, Mamoswine EX's 340 HP with healing is like, it's pretty tanky. The healing is when you accelerate, so presumably you attack first before you've gotten hit into, and then you can heal, but that means accelerating extra energies, which probably isn't what you want to do, especially if you're putting like gusts around. You don't play that much energy, but still, you got a lot of tankiness. We got Rock Chestplate here, so tanky. You got Disruption with Pokemon League HQ. We got Professor Terracenair, so a lot of interesting things going on in this list. Again, not 4 Rare Candy seems kind of crazy to me in a deck that is how many stitches? We only see 7 stage 2s that could use VR Candy. We also see the, or no, 8. We got the Shiftry, 2 Pidgeots, 2 Garganacles, and 3 Mamoswines. And then we have the Klinklang and Luxray, which obviously aren't going to be using Rare Candy, but still, I feel like you want 4 Rare Candy. But also you have deck space issues, but still, the card seems are really good. But then we do see the TM evolutions as well. Mamoswine EX is probably it's one of the cooler cards from the set, as I said, from a community perspective, and I agree some. It's not my personal favorite. There are a few cards that I'm really in love with from the set that aren't very good, but are really cool. But Mamoswine EX is definitely one that it will be a fan favorite, and is one that I'm interested in seeing if it becomes good, and if it does, how will it be played, or honestly, if it's just like okay, but people play it and how they'll play it and how much they'll enjoy it, things like that. But moving on to the next list, we've got 2 Tyranitar lists. I think they're called Tyranitar like simple and Tyranitar complex in the description, because I didn't know what to call them. This one's pretty straightforward. You got a Budew. Oh, I guess I should say what Tyranitar does. Its attack here, it doesn't really matter what the attack does, to be honest, but it does 150 for 2, and then mills 2. It's okay. But the ability here says as long as this in your act, as long as this Pokemon is in the is your active Pokemon. Your opponent can't play any item cards from his or her hand. This is an ability that is going to item lock. It's an ability and only in the active. So if your opponent's able to boss, then they will be unitem locked, but they can't prime catcher out of it. They could iron bundle out of it, but they can't search for the iron bundle or recover the iron bundle. So lots of things to consider there. Unlike Budew, Budew is a Pokemon that with its attack it item locks. That means that your opponent cannot boss around it. I mean, they could. It doesn't item lock them. Though theoretically, if you're stuck out of the active with Budew for a turn, then your opponent will then break free of the item lock, but it's not an immediate break from that. So attacking item lock is like I guess better, but then Tyranitar has a better attack than Budew's. Budew's only does 10. I mean, I guess item lock is like really good, but Tyranitar does 150 in mills too. We see a bunch of reversal energies. Wow, I did not like look at these lists that much before. This one plays a Snorlax doll. Snorlax doll is like the weirdest card I've ever seen because you can only play it as like a face down Pokemon if it's in your hand at setup, which seems like you're never gonna get it with just one copy. Um, and there's some weird stuff. Just think of a prize. It's like it's a really weird card. Then we have Tyranitar. Here, this other one which says does 30 more for each your opponent's bench Pokemon, and discard the top 4 cards of your deck 230 for 2 darkness. Kind of cool there. You'll be dropping item lock if that happens as well. We also see Monkey Dory to help heal up because you do have a lot of HP with these Tyranitars. Just really high HP stage 2 single prize Pokemon. Some of the tankiest single prize Pokemon in the game. I'm pretty sure. I generally don't think a single prize Pokemon being tanky, and this isn't the same HP as the new Werelord, which has 240, I think. But still, you are pretty tanky here. We've got Pokemon League HQ as well to disrupt. We've got Ortega. This is a supporter I have not seen in a really long time. Or I guess really ever. I mean, I saw it obviously when it came out, but it says your opponent reveals their hand, you choose a card you find there and put it on the bottom of their deck. And then if you did, your opponent can draw a card. So it like disrupts them. I think this card's like a little underrated, I guess, but it's still not very good. But we do see it here, and obviously pairing this with item lock, if your opponent has that boss to break out of the item lock, getting rid of that can be really huge. And there's no Lumineon Envy, so they're not going to be able to use that to get the boss. They couldn't get it off of Ultra Ball anyways, but that's something to keep in mind. Your opponent now will have less outs, things like that. Like one less out, something like that. I'll see a bunch of closes Tenacity, which is really interesting. We see Grand Tree, only 2 Rare Candies in this list as well. So some interesting deck building decisions here. But Tyranitar is it's a really good Pokemon, I think. Like, I don't think it's amazing, but I think it's pretty, it's solid for like a single prize stage 2. Most of those are bad. So compared to most of those, I think it's pretty good. Um, because item lock is quite good. It's not like broken. Budew's a good card in the game right now, but I think what we've seen since it's been out is it's decent. It's not a broken card, but it's a good card. And Tyranitar, once you're set up, you can be doing damage and substantially pressuring your opponent. Your opponent might be able to respond, but they might not be able to. There's a good chance they won't be able to. And you do have that Budew for that early game item lock as well. But if they do boss around it, then things might be very bad for you as well. Then this other list here plays Tyranitar EX. There's like a lot of Tyranitars, and most of them are not very good. But Tyranitar EX here says you do for one colorless 50 for each energy attached to this Pokemon, and then you discard a random card to your hand for fighting for fire colorless, and you do 150, which is the same amount of damage. I guess the reason it's being played here is it's high HP. Um, and because the attacks like don't seem very good. Actually, the attacks seem like kind of bad because you need, I mean, the first attack's only one energy, but like you want more energy, right? And then the second attack is like three, and you can't use reversal on them. Reversal only works on evolution non-rule box Pokemon, so it does not work on EXs like Tyranitar EX. Does work on the regular baby Tyranitar, which is really important for that card. We also see Pidgeot EX here. We see a Dustor line as well. We see more Badoos, I'm pretty sure. And then we see Neutralization Zone to really disrupt your opponent even more. Neutralization Zone's an ace spec that says pretty much gives all your opponent or all your Pokemon that are non-rule box the ability of Mimikyu, which is like insane. It's, in my opinion, arguably the best ability in the game. I mean, it's like really weird to compare like Mimikyu's ability with like Fezzenifty EX's ability. They're obviously very different, but it's just kind of absurdly good ability. But then if your opponent bumps the stadium, then it's just like gone, like actually just gone because it can't be recovered into your hand or deck from the discard pile. So yeah, hopefully that doesn't happen. It's not very easy to recover anyways. Like in standard right now, there would be a few ways to theoretically recover it if you could. There's like Silene and Regieleki, but those are rotating, so don't really know. I'm sure there's some ways. There's like an Oinkologne or something. Anyways, that's not what you can do. You cannot do that though. But you do have Neutralization Zone to potentially really shut your opponent down. They could play their own Jamming Tower. Certainly can't play Lost Vacuum, but they're not playing it anyways, so it's not like you're shutting that down with Tyranitar. But and that actually make I wonder if I should play Budew with Neutralization Zone. I've not done that. Maybe that'd be good. Um, I think I'll probably gonna quit if I do that. But yeah, Budew is definitely the Budew combo into Tyranitar is like really important as well. There's no issue in Heavy Ball as well, so 2 copies I think seems really good. And then to go into that Tyranitar, and I don't think you need a ton of Tyranitars either. I mean you need a few obviously, and then you have Recovery as well, but it's not like important to. You don't need like 6 Tyranitars, right? I just don't think that's if your opponent's knocking out 6 Tyranitars, that's kind of weird. Um, that just seems like a really weird game flow. It's possible, and you want to be able to do what you can, but um, yeah, like I don't. Um, I think the 3 Tyrantars make sense. The Tyranitar EX doesn't make that much sense to me though. Like I get it's tanky, but it seems a little weird. Then the next list we have here is Gholdengo EX. This deck's actually like really good. Well, it's not like this list isn't necessarily the best list, but it's interesting. Gholdengo is a really good deck post rotation. I mean, it's like not the best deck. And it's a good deck now as well. It's not like it's like getting this massive jump up with rotation, but it is a deck that is still it's good. It's a good deck. You have Gholdengo EX where you discard most of your energies. Also, sorry about my voice. My voice is getting quite bad. Um, then okay, that helped. Gholdengo EX obviously can draw, does a bunch of things, but it's not the whole engine, right? It's a bonus. It's quite a bonus. It's a bonus. But you have to Dunsparce here as the engine with the runaway draw, which is probably one of the weirder abilities in the game, where you take the Dunsparce, you draw 3, and then you shuffle this Pokemon all cards attached to it into your deck. So it kind of like it's kind of weird because then you might just end up drawing the Dunsparce pieces again, in which case you're not really gaining that many new cards that you can do anything with. But it is still a solid engine. It's kind of weird, and we are losing Barrel, Curly, though there is the and Zoroark EX, but it's not amazing as just a draw engine, or honestly as a deck, it's okay. It's a little worse than Gholdengo probably. But then you have the new Dunsparce EX, which is a really cool card, which says its second attack I guess is usable, but it's niche. It's like a wall breaking attack, so it can hit through Mimikyu or neutralization. zone or whatever that card's called. Is that what it's called? Yeah, that is. And then adversarial tail for one colorless, so very easy to pay here. You do 60 for each of your opponent's Pokemon EX in play. This could be hitting absurd damage. It probably is not hitting absurd damage, but it's probably hitting 180 or 120. Maybe it's hitting 240 to one shot something like Presentipede EX. That's like the dream scenario, which isn't like amazing. It's still just okay. But Dunsparce EX is a card that's it's really solid. It's like it's decent, and then paired with the Dunsparce engine, it's a very solid card, very solid like package here. And it's just an alternate evolution. Speaking of alternate evolutions, we also see the Gholdengo from Surging Spikes. This is a card that I think is really cool. It's not the best, but it is obviously part of the same evolution line. You have the Sect attack, which is kind of cool. It's this hit and run attack, but again, 3 colorless, just like the Dunsparce's EX. The Dunsparce EX's Sect attack, which is actually probably more usable because you'd be like powering it up against control, where your opponent would then be giving you a lot of room to like work with if they're just maybe you're not applying a lot of pressure. But anyways, this Gholdengo is definitely not attacking with the second attack, but the first stack definitely can attack with. Strike it rich for 1 metal. If this Pokemon evolved from Gimmighoul during this turn, you do 90 more. It's a single prize that can do 120 for 1, which is like decent. The issue is like, now what? What if they gust around you, right? Then you're not really doing anything. Then you might want to set up your Surf back attack, but it's not very good. And then it can create some awkward situations, but it is cool if your opponent has to hit through it to go into single prize or onto odd prizes. That could be really huge for you, and it doesn't take the same level of energy as Gholdengo EX, which would then be taking. I guess it depends how much HP your opponent has, but it probably taking 3 or 4 energies as opposed to just 1. So Gholdengo is a card I think it's really cool within Gholdengo EX. I don't think it's like that good, but it's fun, and I wanted to show it off. Then we see some other cards here that are new as well, which I wanted to show off. We do have Lavenica, which says once during each player's turn, that player may put up to 2 basic latent energy cards from their discard pile into their hand. This is really useful for getting energies back, right? As you play 2 lightning energies, I was gonna say I could even see a third one. We see Monkey Dory in here. I feel like Monkey Dory is like kind of mediocre. Maybe I know people play it in Gholdengo some, but I feel like it's kind of whatever. But yeah, I could see kind of in the darkness for another lightning because Lavenica I think is actually really good in Gholdengo. Because it's an extra 100 damage every single turn with the stadium in play. It's like a superior energy retrieval, kind of, where you get 2 extra energies to your hand. Superior energy retrieval, you get 4, obviously, so it's like really good, but then you do have to discard 2 other cards from your hand. So it's actually just a net of 2 cards. The other 2 cards are probably cards that you don't need, ideally, but probably one of the cards would be decent, so it's very good. Lavenica is just like energy retrieval, but then there's a stadium, so it can stay in play and theoretically get good value for you. It probably is not helping out your opponent very much either, so that's nice. I think it's quite good in Gholdengo. And then you also have Exchange Ticket. This is a really interesting item that says after counting your prizes, shuffle them and put them on the bottom of your deck. Then take that many cards from the top of your deck and put them as your face down prize cards. We actually see 4 Cypher Maniacs code breaking. Okay, that's a lot. But that allows you to control what's in your prizes. I guess that's not like super useful, but you can control 2 of them. And I'm pretty sure they're shuffled, right? Wait, what? You take that many from the top of your deck and put them as your face down prizes? No, I don't think they're shuffled. Okay, that's the ones that are out of your prizes are shuffled, which like seems like it doesn't matter, but I guess you need to put them in some order. But no, you take that many cards at the top of your deck and then put them face down as your prizes. So with Cypher Maniac's code breaking, you now know 2 of your prizes off of that, which is really cool. It seems like, a lot of resources, but this is a card that's kind of replacing Hisuian Heavy Ball as well. It's not the same value. It's definitely much worse. I mean, I don't know how similar it is, but I feel like they are somewhat similar. They're prize manipulating cards. We don't see a ton of those that are good. I think this one's decent. And it is a card that I think really does need to be in people's minds because Hisuian Heavy Ball has rotated in Japan. It will be rotating very soon. It is a card that I don't think is talked about that much, but is kind of like a forgotten hero of the format right now. Then the next deck here we have is like super weird. I don't know how I stumbled upon this deck, but it's Okidogi. Okidogi is like a really weird Pokemon because its ability says if it has a Darkness Energy, it gets 100 more HP and it does 100 more damage, which is like it's kind of insane. But its attack is really bad. I mean, it's not. I mean, I guess it's good. It's in the name. It's good punch, which is 70 for 2 fighting, but like that's not that good. And it's 130 HP is like also not that good, but 230 HP. And 170. 170 is not insane, but it's it's certainly that's like good. And then the HP though, that's quite nice. We see neutralization zone as well. Lively Stadium to get even tankier. Wow, we see a lot of stadiums and a lot of tools. Wow, we see Forever and Four Colors of Tenacity. And then you do play Luminous Energy. Luminous Energy is really important. It provides oh yeah, some people don't know how this works either. So it says Ocelot's card is attached to a Pokemon. It provides every type of energy, but only one energy at a time. If the Pokemon this card is attached to has any other special energy, it provides just one colorless. So you're not going to be stacking Luminous on a card. That's really bad. Don't do that. But then you can attach just one, and it's every energy. This means it's providing both the fighting and the darkness at the same time, which can get really complicated, but it's only providing one energy. So keep that in mind. It's kind of weird. If you actually have questions about it, I've gotten a few questions about it, like weird energy stuff. You can ask me, but that's just the quick rundown. It is just one energy, but it is both types. And then that pays for the two things for Okidogi, and it's kind of really how you need to do it. So now it's just two energies in total for your attack, plus the buffs, as opposed to three energies, where that's not something that you really want to do, and you can really afford to do. You have T of Turbo Energized, you have EXP shares. That's how you get the energies on there. We also see Cortisone Mass Ogre Pontiac is just a really good walling Pokemon. I think it's personally, yeah, I'll say I think it's the best Ogerpon. Obviously TMS Ogerpon EX is like a really good, but I think this card is very, very good as it walls like a ton of the best Pokemon in the game. It just kind of auto wins or close to auto wins. And then we see the Hops Crarant, which is 120 if your opponent has 3 or 4 Prize of Raining for just one colorless, or for free with Hops Choice Band. And then it'll be doing 150 as well, which is kind of cool. A bit of a surprise to see because that seems like how useful would this card be in games, but it is here. Then we see Iris's Fighting Spirit here as a supporter. You can use this card. You need to discard a card from your hand, and then you draw until you have 6 cards in hand. This is like the most generic supporter, or not the most, but one of the most generic supporters I've seen. It's very kind of whatever, but it is a supporter that is here. I wanted to find some lists that played it. I guess that's how I ended up stumbling upon this list. Then the last list we have here is a Charizard EX Pidgeot EX list with Salamence EX. So this is certainly something. This is something that I guess I missed before, because I was looking for a while and didn't see Salamence CX lists, and I guess this is like new or than the original. Like it wasn't the first day or two, but still, Salamence CX is a really interesting card. I guess it does 50 spread. No, 50 to each of your opponent's bench Pokemon, not to their active, for Fire colorless, which is oh yeah, then you do have Water Energy. It is very expensive though. And then you would do 300 for Fire Water Colorless. You just got 2 energy from this Pokemon. And you can power it up using Charizard EX. This card, I've said a lot. I feel kind of bad for saying this, but it would be so good, or not like broken in Regidrago, but it'd be good. I mean, Regidrago is already very good, and it would be even better pre-rotation, obviously. Post-rotation, I mean, it's rotating. Also, if you want to know if you're a Regidrago player, there probably aren't that many people watching at this point in the video. But if you're a Regidrago player and you're like, what do I want to play post-rotation? I don't know what I want to do. Play Zoroark EX. I'm going to make a video kind of detailing what you should play post-rotation based on what you're playing now. Obviously, there are a lot of decks that are, still staying in the game, but there are some that are leaving, and there are certainly good options. Zoroark EX, I think, is a similar option, or a similar deck to Regidrago V-Star. That's like definitely worse. But you have, copying, and you have some different things that I think are that you might find like natural with that. You might be kind of jarred by the step down in deck quality a little bit, but it's still an okay deck. But regardless, Salamence EX would be so good in that, would fit super well into it. 50 spread is like good. That's our 50 spread to all your opponent's bench is good. It's not broken, but it's good. And then your sect attack is quite good, right? That's very good. But anyway, Salamence EX is like kind of cool, and this format, That's not the coolest. We also have the Spoiler Ruffian, which says discard a Pokemon tool or special energy from one of your opponent's Pokemon. It's like kind of whatever, but I guess this one is a replacement to Lost Vacuum if you're looking for one, but it's not great. But it's okay. You can search out with Pidgeot EX might be what you want in certain situations. Anyways, tell me down below in the comments what deck you're most excited, which of these you like the most, and what other decks you're excited for from this new set or just post rotation in general. But I hope you enjoyed. Consider liking, subscribing, hitting the bell, all the good stuff. And as always, I'm excited to see you in the next video.